Okay, Leah Rappaport. Let's see, we have Samantha.
Samantha is not here.
Okay. Tova Razel. Hannah Sternberg. Sarah. Sarah Titkin. Sarah Titkin. Here to Hila is not here. Shayna. Nadia. Okay. Rappaport is here. Hannah Sternberg. Okay, let's see. Okay. On page. So after the back to the Mishkan, after the animal was trapped, we have the slaughtering. That was used to have their skins of the tachash, and also for the ram. The skins were used to make the covering for the Mishkan. So we have the Avmalacha includes taking an animal's life by slaughtering or striking. And striking, causing a bruise, would also go into this category. This is on page 249. So it goes into this category, causing a bruise of any living thing, because there's the breaking of the blood vessels and the blood is not absorbed back into the body. So therefore, this is a loss of blood that goes into this malacha. Whether it's actually slaughtering with a knife or any other form of taking a life, page 250, whether it's strangulation, taking a fish out of water, where it no longer is able to be revived, striking an animal, drawing blood or causing bleeding under the skin, striking a person would also go into this category. So Torah is very, so that would be even in the weekdays. And it's not only a Shabbos issue, but a Shabbos issue that would be an issue on its own. It's interesting in halacha, striking a family member would be the same as striking someone who is not a family member, which means when the Jewish courts would, if it is an actual damage, the person would have to pay for the damages as if it was any other person, whether it's a close family member, it would all be the same because it is a prohibition to strike someone, even if not causing a bruise. We have that in the Torah with the story with Moshe Rabbeinu, where one person lifted his hand, didn't even strike the person, and Moshe Rabbeinu says, Lo Rasha, to the wicked one, why are you striking your fellow? Even though he did not strike him, but the fact that he lifted a hand to strike him, that's considered as if he did strike him.
Like, there's not Jewish parents who like spank their kids.
So
It's not really a thing nowadays.
So no, you can listen. Spanking is it's again out of anger, and that's striking. As a part of discipline, this was a part of discipline, and Shlomo Melech says, spare the rod, spoil the child. The Rebbe, when he spoke about this, again, this is going back in Europe. There was something that was called a kanchik. It was a strap. So the Rambam deals with it. And the Rambam says, if it is going to be for discipline, we're speaking about in the class, he speaks about the halachas of a teacher. He says the strap has to vary something that will not cause any harm. It has to be something that's, he says, a retzua ktana, a small strap, which would basically be the message that it gives. So the Rebbe said in the earlier times when it was used, a good teacher would only hang his strap on the wall, and he would just have to look at it, and that was the message that was enough. So he never really had to use it. It was only a threat.
But on
So-
Shabbos, the parents shouldn't watch the kids.
So not to cause a black and blue mark, that means that's with force, that's already not. But causing a black and blue mark is a Torah prohibition, and it goes into the category of shochet, which is having the blood, breaking blood vessels where it will no longer go back to the bloodstream. So that would be an additional prohibition. So much so, the Torah is also not only about not striking physically, but the Torah also deals with not to strike verbally. It's called a noah, causing someone emotional pain by saying words that are hurtful. And in Shulchan Aruch, they have a whole section about especially dealing with one's spouse, with one's wife, not to cause any emotional pain. It says that the blessing of the house comes through the wife and to keep her happy. There's a halacha where for Yantif, you should make the family happy. And it says in halacha, it says what makes children happy, giving them special snacks. I guess that was something that was rare, giving them all these nuts and all kind of good nash, especially special for Yantif, for the wife to buy her clothes, possible jewelry, at least new shoes. So this is something that in halacha, this is something that the halacha tells us that special relationship should always be there. And for sure, nothing negative. If there ever is an issue, one has to go to a rav. If a person is a person who cares about halacha, if he knows, sometimes a person thinks it's just your choice. But this is not a choice. This is something that halacha tells us how one has to conduct themselves. Now, killing flies, ants, flies, mosquitoes, that is, since they're not harmful to a person, so one should not kill them. So the Torah prohibition would be for a purpose. If it's not for a purpose, then it's rabbinic. But for a purpose would be that a person wants to have the results of after slaughtering the animal, he wants to make use of the animal. So that would be killing things that are harmless. So that is forbidden. And that would go into a category. Person who's checking for has vegetables, and you're checking them for insects. So the best thing would be to do so before Shabbos. You have the lettuce leaves, where at one time they used a very strong insecticide, and therefore most vegetables were insect-free. Then, so it was a question of insecticides or insect-free vegetable. Right now, the understanding is that it's not to use those insecticides. So now you will have vegetables that would be with insects. In Gush Katif, there was the romaine lettuce that was grown there that was specifically insect-free because they would sift the sand on which the vegetables were grown. They had netting, they had double doors. The person who would come to inspect would wear special clothes. And in case there was any insects that were found, that whole section was taken out. So they would have the insect-free vegetables.
So you said this is in Gush Katif in Israel?
The Gush Katif is no longer that farm is. Those farms are no longer in operating. They tried to do that in Mexico. I don't know how successful they were. So they do for Pesach have many a time where they do have insect-free romaine lettuce. One would have to check on the packaging. The romaine lettuce would only mean that they were insect-free in a general way. We don't assume that they have, we're not sure that they have insects. What they will have is they will have a sand. That is something that one would have to wash the sand from the stems. That is not something that they are concerned with. And also, there can also come flies that would be after growing. That would be something that's an additional that they came after they were grown, after they've been produced, and then the flies would come. That's something that one also has to be aware of. So one would have to look at the packaging. Every year, I guess it would be different. You'd have to look at the packaging. If it says insect-free, it has a hechsher. What you would have to do, you still have to wash them because of the sand, and you'd also have to check to see that there are no flies. Now, however, on Shabbos, you have a lettuce leaf. You have an insect on the lettuce. Can you go to the sink and wash it down the drain?
I didn't know.
The reason is because
You're moving the bad from the good.
and
Like if you take the good away from the bad, then I can.
okay, what else is there? Well,
Killing the insect.
okay, we are drowning the insect. Right now, we're speaking according to this chapter. We are drowning the insect, which means we're actually killing the insect, and that cannot be done. So, what would be if you do see it, you would have to tear off the part of the leaf and discard that, and then wash the lettuce leaf after they are insect-free. Wash them by the sink.
You rip off the lettuce leaf with the bug and leave it outside or something.
You throw it in the garbage. Not killing it.
So you can do that and
Yes.
not take off. You don't have to take off the not insect part.
No, since you're taking off a part of the leaf with the insect,
okay.
but since the leaf itself is edible,
If you took
So,
the bug off, then
that could be taking the bug off it by itself. That would be the
Got it.
selecting and removing with the lettuce leaf. What you're doing is you didn't separate the bad from the good because the good is still there together with the insect. Yes.
So let's say there's outside of seeing. You go to the bathroom and there's a scorpion next to your toilet.
So
Do you cover it with
scorpions.
something? that
So-
insect is not.
So a scorpion, if it's something that is of a danger to life, you have to protect yourself. The Torah tells us we could protect ourselves, we should protect ourselves. And if it's something that's a danger to life, not only to you, but to anyone, then you eliminate or capture it, or whatever else should be done in order to protect other people from this killer situation, whether it is a scorpion that's poisonous, whether it's a snake, or whether it is it's an animal that has rabies, which again could be something that could be fatal. It could be also the insects that could be fatal. Someone's allergic to bee stings, which would be something that is could be fatal. Same thing is also with different types of flies. It could be fatal. In those cases, you eliminate them, whatever it takes to protect a human life. Now, the page 251, blood tests. Now, removing blood goes into this category. Therefore, if a person is in danger of life, the person's in the hospital, whatever it takes to save the person's life is permitted on Shabbos. It says even when there is a situation where you have to call Hatzalah, do something to save a person's life, who should be the one to do it? The one who is most learned, the person who is most respected, he should be the one who takes the leading role in this, because people may be hesitant and say it's Shabbos, maybe it's not so dangerous, maybe we could wait until after Shabbos, maybe we'll get a non-Jew to call. All of these things, if it during that time that one is waiting, it could be fatal to the person's life, then everything that is, it should be done on Shabbos to save a person's life. And therefore, the one who is, no one should be hesitant about doing this. It should be taken care of. Yes.
The most learned, like in Shabbos halacha, or like who knows about medical?
No. Anyone people who look up to, someone who is being looked up to say, well, if he's doing it because this is something that's permissible. They will understand that it's not something that you have to be not unsure, to be unsure about, but this is something that should be taken care of. So if a person is in the hospital and he's in a situation where it is a danger of life, then whatever it takes, whether it's a blood test, whether it's intravenous, whatever else it takes to save the person's life, should be done on Shabbos. However, if it's not something that is necessary for Shabbos itself, it could be done at a later time. So then we should not have a blood test taken on Shabbos because it is a malacha. So then again, if a person is, same thing is also with intravenous, they do that as a part of the system, not because the person really needs it. The person is in the hospital, they'll take the blood tests and all of these things, not that it's really needed at this particular time. Certain things are not needed for Shabbos, it could be done after Shabbos. So therefore, a person who is in control should say that if it's not something that is not necessary at this moment, then it should be done after Shabbos.
What did you say about intravenous and Shabbos?
Again, that's the same story. If it's needed, if it's routine, something that is not needed for Shabbos, it's only a routine of the hospital, then they have to ask if this is something that could be done after Shabbos. If it's something that is needed for the person's survival, then whatever is needed, then it should be done. So again, it's the person has the choice. So then person's going to give birth. I don't know if they routinely give blood tests or they routinely put her on intravenous. I don't know how things are under those circumstances. But again, this is something that she's not in any mortal danger, and therefore things that could wait until after Shabbos should be done after Shabbos.
Isn't it actually a mitzvah to break Shabbos to help someone in danger?
The mitzvah of saving someone's life is that that's the mitzvah. So shows how important the person is, that Shabbos is so important that even the building of the Mishkan is suspended on Shabbos. However, to save a person's life, that it becomes a necessity, that becomes that the person has to do so. Removing a splinter. So what one has to be careful is not to cause any bleeding. So a splinter could be removed. It could be removed with a needle. The needle, even though needle is muktzah, could be used to remove a splinter. Again, but with the precaution of not causing it to bleed. If one assumes that one will be able to do so without causing any bleeding, then one could remove the splinter. Even if there is bleeding, that is something that's incidental because it's not something that was definitely going to happen. So that would be unintentional. If you know for sure it's going to happen, then it's considered intentional. If you're not sure it's going to happen, then it's unintentional. Therefore, it could be done on Shabbos. Removing a scab of a wound, knowing that removing the scab will cause bleeding, that again goes into the same category. What about flossing?
Can't separate. Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, now flossing itself, you have those little, you have the floss that's on a string. You have to cut, so that cutting to size that cannot be done on Shabbos. Then you have those little, what are they called? The hand flossers that they come with a little piece that's has its own little hand. As you hold on to it. So could one use that on Shabbos?
If
So
you know you're
again,
not gonna bleed,
huh?
if you know you won't bleed.
Okay, so if you have a healthy gums, so taking out the dirt is permissible from a human being. You're just like you're allowed to wash your just like you're allowed to wash your hands, you're allowed to wash your face. So removing something from your mouth is permissible. That does not go into the category of separating bad from good. So that is permissible. The only thing we're concerned about is a healthy gum. So if a person has a healthy gum throughout the week, they do the flossing, there is no bleeding. So we're assuming that on Shabbos it will be the same, and then one is permitted to do so.
So like, it's almost worse if you floss every day and then intentionally not floss on Shabbos, right? Like if you floss, you don't bleed.
During the week, does it bleed?
No,
So then why should we assume that's going to bleed on Shabbos?
that's true.
And so then we assume it's not going to.
Changed my life.
So as long as you have, as long as you have healthy gums, then there is no issue about flossing on Shabbos. Unless you're going to cut the string to a certain length, that's its own issue. But if those little special pre-cut flossers, so that is permissible on Shabbos. And for those who you could also, if you have a mouthwash, that could also be done on Shabbos to freshen your mouth if you wish. So those are things that are permissible on Shabbos. Yes.
Maybe this is next. I don't know. But like brushing your teeth if it doesn't bleed though.
So we're going to go into that. It's a matter of you using a dry brush, a brush that has toothpaste on it, liquid toothpaste. That's all a separate issue. We're going to go. We'll have that when it comes to the creams.
If you can floss and if you can use mouthwash, you don't really need to brush your teeth.
Okay. Okay. So it's taken care of.
Dentist homework.
Okay.
Really?
Okay. We heard it.
Oh, I have a question. I asked you this last year, but I don't remember if you.
Dealt with it. Okay.
Okay, there's these little things like tabs, dry tabs, toothpaste, and you like chew on it and it fizzes in your mouth and you brush.
Would be the same as, I guess, as toothpaste.
But you're not squeezing.
Then you-
Okay.
You have to. I never heard of this. I guess I don't remember it from last year, so I didn't answer it last year. After class, you'll describe it to me.
Is there a toothpaste that's kosher for Shabbos? Like squeeze-free toothpaste somehow?
What they have is a liquid toothpaste, and they also have these. So the issue that we're trying to avoid is having something that is dense that retains water. We learned about this a number of times when we spoke about the Shabbos pads. That the Shabbos pad means that it doesn't retain water, even though it doesn't absorb water, but we don't want it to retain water. Therefore, we have the Shabbos scrubbies. That means that the netting is very loose, does not retain water. You put it into water, you take it out, all the water flows out. There's nothing that is retained in the thing itself. So what they've done is with Shabbos toothbrushes and those who used it said that it's very unuseful. Is they made with rubber tips that are very wide from one from another, so it's not the nylon substance. Since then, I saw them coming out with a new Shabbos toothbrush. I would have to see what it is. The other one was no problem. They had liquid toothwash. So they put the liquid toothwash on the rubber stemmed brush, and those who were able to take that rubber in their mouth, I don't know how good of a job it did, but anyway, that was that one. I don't know if it's still on the market, but they came up with a new one. I would have to see what the new one is, how it would meet the Shabbos requirements. If anything, it would have to be a Shabbos brush that would be left for Shabbos specifically. So I would have to look into see how they updated it, if it's something that is actually practically brushable. Then, if you, yeah, yeah, that's correct. That's correct. That's correct. That's correct.
Basically
That's
just
correct.
mouthwash, right?
That's correct.
Or choose on.
No, that's a paste. That's a paste. You make it. No, it causes a paste. You're making a paste. The baking powder would cause a paste.
Isn't there a thing that like if there's something in your house that's dirty that's really bothering you, you could clean it on Shabbos, even if you don't need it for Shabbos? So, like,
But they're not going to this category. You're correct about that. If you have the garbage that's there and it's very it's something that is reprehensible, so you could remove it. So with the you're brushing your tooth because of that, that's another
no,
issue.
I mean the rinsing the brush
Oh,
afterwards.
is it
like,
bother?
gross
It's a gross. Well, if you put it away, it's not going to, but you don't see the whole bother you. Same thing as with the dishes, you put them away, so it doesn't bother you unless there's going to be flies, and it's going to cause discomfort of Shabbos itself. But if that's the issue, you put them away in the place that they'll be out of sight.
We're not supposed to wash our dishes even with cold water on Shabbos?
So it would be those dishes that you're going to be using. You could wash them as long as you use them for Shabbos. You could wash them on Shabbos, or you intend that it's possible that you will be using them on Shabbos. You could wash them on Shabbos. In other words, Friday night, you've done you've had your meal, you finished your meal, you have your dishes. You will be using these dishes the next day. You wash them. You don't have to wait the next day to wash them. You wash them immediately Friday night. Anything that you'll be using for Shabbos itself could be taken care of whenever it is needed. So with the cutlery, if you're going to use all the cutlery, you wash all the cutlery. If you're not going to be using some, you're not going to be using the spoons for the next day because there's nothing that's going to be with the spoon, then you don't wash the spoons. But if you are going to be using the spoons, then you wash the spoons. The cups and drinking glasses could always be washed because we say that there's always a person throughout the day, even though they're not having the meal, they are having drinks, and therefore the cups and glasses could be washed on Shabbos. We're assuming that there's a possibility that you will need it for Shabbos itself.
Rabbi Baras.
Mhm.
So what is like the basic of like you're keeping Shabbos? Like these are lots of things and everyone like makes mistakes, or like even in this case, like everyone's growing at different levels. But even like when you grow up from, like some things people don't even know. So like what counts is like the big like things of you're keeping Shabbos, you know?
Well, you have to know the Lamates Malachas. You have to know the 39 categories and what is the Torah prohibition for these 39 categories. And you take it from there. So,
What do you mean?
no, there's the basic malacha. Then there's also where's rabbinic guidelines and fences.
Mhm.
So I mean, as you're learning, what you're responsible is to know the Torah prohibitions.
So like at the beginning of each chapter, there's the prohibition, then we
That's
go
right.
into lots of examples.
That's correct. That's correct.
So you would start off by like knowing the prohibitions
That's
and
correct.
then add the examples
That's
in?
correct. Yes.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Is there anything wrong with chewing mince gum on Shabbos as a way to replace teeth brushing?
That would be fine.
Unwrapping gum to chew it.
That would
and
be
then spitting
fine.
it out
You would do
afterwards,
that, you would unwrap them when you're ready to have the gum. The gum is right. There's, if it's flavored gum, you would make a shahakel because of the sugar covering that's on top of the flavor covering that's on top of the gum. So you would make a bracha. If it's unflavored gum and it's simply just chewing, chewing, then there is no bracha. That would be said. But if it's flavored, then you would make a bracha for the flavor.
You walk outside with chewing gum.
Not carrying it. Any food that's in your mouth would be considered carrying.
So
So
if you're walking around your own house.
in the
chewing
house,
gum,
it's fine.
that's fine.
in the house. Any place that you're allowed to carry, then you're allowed to chew. Okay. Okay, now on page 252, we had two malachas that are that might overlap one another, and that is trapping and killing. So trapping is one malacha, killing is another malacha, and we said when it comes to killing any living thing is forbidden. Trapping, so then trapping for use, that you want to have a benefit from it, that is the Torah prohibition. Rabbi Baras said that even if you don't have a use of it, trapping is forbidden. However, what happens if something is hurting you, stinging you? So when it comes to mosquito, so if it's in your vicinity, you just would shoo it away. If it lands on you, your clothes, you shoo it away. If it's on your body and it's stinging, then you're allowed to, not to kill it, but to remove it. So it would be called capturing it and then throwing it away.
Can't like.
You could flick it if it's not going to kill it. No
It's
killing.
not possible to capture a mosquito. That's biting you without killing it.
You
You'd
can
have to
like
have
put
a
a
really
cup on your
tiny,
shoulder
tiny
and get like
I don't think it would kill it if you flick it.
It's probably dying from a heart attack.
No,
really small. I'm just imagining a mosquito with all this clothing, like against the bars and a really small day. I like your question. Every time like kidnaps my dad.
okay, so now what? Now on page 252, what about animals that are capable of killing? Something that's a danger to life, then even if it's not after anybody, it's not chasing anybody, but someone else could come in contact with this killer. So then you protect yourself in all ways that to remove it from being in danger to anyone. That would be something that is life-threatening. So it would be whether it's an animal that's life-threatening or the insects that are life-threatening or the snake or scorpion that are poisonous, all of those would go into this category. So if you're able to trap it, that would be your first choice because you're trapping it not for its use, but just to prevent it harming anyone. So that would be a rabbinic. So we go to the rabbinic first. Taking a life is a Torah prohibition. So if your first choice is if you're able to trap it, then it would be trapped. If not, then the next step is taken to save it.
Let's say it's like a mountain lion or a bear, and that's like dangerous. Okay, I grew up like in the middle of nowhere. Hence the questions.
Okay.
But like it's dangerous, but you can't trap a bear. But it
Right.
could be dangerous to someone else if it's loose in a residential neighborhood.
So
So
okay,
would you
so
call the police in that case?
yes. So you get the ones who are able to
Well,
do so.
they send out the animal catchers and they bring it out to the forest.
Now, so now animals that are dangerous but not life-threatening. So that would be, I guess, a dog. So can you, so if it's not attacking anyone, so there's no reason to kill it. if it is after the person, then you do whatever is needed to protect oneself. So what's the story with dogs? Yes. What would one, what do people do in the weekdays?
Walking your dog, and then another dog jumps out of the backyard and then runs toward your dog. It's like,
So what I'm just saying, in the weekdays, what would one do when there is a dog that's after you?
Maybe run away.
Run away.
Grab
Okay,
a
I'm just
stick and.
okay.
it's okay.
So I'm saying, so whatever would be done in the weekdays, that's what you would do on Shabbos as well. If a dog is after you, whatever you would do in the weekdays, that's what you could do on Shabbos. So
What if
again,
there's a dog that's loose? Could you catch it?
Can try.
so if it's yours,
If it's
What-
like
someone's
not yours, but it could die. I know we don't really say.
no,
dogs
so we
in
don't.
church,
So
but-
we let them fend for themselves on Shabbos.
So if you see like your
Why
neighbor's
like your
dog
dog?
got out.
Oh, so then you tell your neighbor that your dog is out. You let them know.
What if it's your own animal that like that?
Your own animal, so you call it.
But like,
Yeah, you call your dog. You call your animal. It should respond.
what if they don't?
Doesn't
It's not
respond.
theirs.
So if it doesn't respond, what you could
Dogs
do.
respond to other animals or not.
Okay, I'm just saying. So if you have an animal that doesn't respond, so what you would treat it as a wild animal, and whatever could be done to a wild animal, that's what you would do to yours. Since it is domesticated, so you could enclose it in a large in a large area where it's not confined to a small
Could you make
space.
the large area smaller and smaller and smaller until you.
So again, if it's domesticated and it's not running away from you, then trapping it does not go into that. It's not in the category of trapping. So yes. So if we're speaking under regular circumstances, unless it's rebelling against you. So other than that, then you could close the door on your dog and whatever else it is, your dog, your cat. They're not considered trapping because they're there. Yeah.
On this page 251, there's a note that says, people it's talking about trapping fleas. People do not hunt fleas, so the prohibition of trapping does not apply at all. So people don't hunt dogs, so could you trap a dog?
Well, if it is not domesticated, it is trapped. If you have when the ASPCA goes out and sees dogs roaming, they will trap it.
No, I'm talking about us.
Speaking about regular dogs are, if they're roaming and they are ownerless or whatever it may be, when you have the ASPCA, they round up the animals that are ownerless, so they trap them. They have their nets, they have whatever else they do. Whatever they do, they have their leashes.
Would that be like, that's like not, like, that's also like the rabbinical thing, like you were just asked like when you just said that, you would want to learn like the father malacha and then go into all these details. Like, is this those details?
So trapping it in a place where it's not confined would be rabbinic. The Torah prohibition would be actually to confine a living thing. The Torah prohibition would be confining something with a purpose, not just avoiding the nuisance of it, but actually you want to make use of whatever you are trapping. So that would be the Torah prohibition.
If your dog had some kind of medical emergency, could you go find a guy to call like an animal hospital? Or to bring her to the animal hospital?
I'd have to give it to it. I know people are very sensitive to their pets. They consider them as a part of the family, and they're very emotionally attached to the pets. And looking at an objective way would not be satisfying to the person who's listening to this and say, how could you be so insensitive to something that is so, so special? Someone was telling me that they had a cat for 16 years. It died. They felt very, very broken about this. So what should I say? Don't be broken, And the worst thing to say is, are you going to get a new cat? That's the worst thing to say, but how could it be replaced? You have to be sensitive to such a situation. And I wasn't sensitive. And I said, well, are you going to get a new cat? And he said, And I said, oops, I said the wrong thing. So, okay. Okay, so, oh, that's a bulldog. Yes. So people are, that's yours. And people are people frightened when they say the bulldog? Are they frightened of this?
You can't be scared of that one.
That has a very
It's like not that.
cute face.
Like that like spikes.
So I have like spade shambles, like
Mhm.
a bird and then
Mhm.
like, are you allowed to like look in other people's like size?
If they go back inside,
On
then
their own.
on their own, they go back inside, you can't close the door. When you're opening the door, when you want to keep them inside, when you're opening the door, you block. So the cage animal will not go out. So it was never free
Did
to.
you like
What?
I have a monster,
Oh,
whatever.
so
I like aggressive, whatever, and I was like unless she's like hungry at that moment, she'll jump out.
Oh, so there's no way of blocking the with your body, blocking it so
I
not.
kept something. So like would I like just have to like not like did she say
Could you
that?
feed it without opening the cage? Do you want to change the water or whatever else?
Not what?
Charlie's happy.
Does it fly back to the cage?
Yeah, she'll go back.
It
and
goes
she's
back.
cute.
So then, so I'm saying, so then you,
I was like, listen, is that
once it, once it, no, you can't close it.
Charlie.
Okay, and then I was just like, so I also
Honestly,
honestly,
at this
Oh
point,
dear,
if they
yes.
get to like the part of the
How
cage
did
where
you
like
get
they're
your
like
mom
half
to
in,
temper?
half out, I just like do them. I put the full in and
Yes,
just like
yes.
cover.
are you
Because
guys?
they get to the half in, half out really often, but like
They love lots of
You push them back in.
like that's what I normally do like on a
Yeah.
normal.
Yeah, with the back of your hand. With the back of your hand, yeah.
He has another.
Yeah.
It's like okay, so I can interact with them.
Used to have two dogs, and then one of those dogs like died.
There's
And
some
the
other
dog's
out,
been
like, but
So-
they just be like,
So now.
Well, 3 day.
No, you're fine.
Okay. Could someone fill out the rest of the attendance? I'm,
We have you every day next week.
Yes.
Which is like
So,
very
like,
exciting.
Yes.
Are we
different,
like,
you know?
what kind of halacha are we talking, like the halachas of like the Seder or of like
Go-
cleaning?
Go through it.
Okay, cool. Also, just something funny, it wasn't last week, I think it might have been like 2 or 3 weeks ago, but I was in 770 right after school with the chavrasa.
Today,
And-
Mrs. Wagner's not feeling well, so everyone's meeting together for Jewish culture. Oh, so it's me with Mrs. Cohen on the second floor. Doesn't matter. To go downstairs. Also, for next week, when we have the special half a day classes, 9:15 starts the day with halacha. It's the same regular groups of halacha.
9:15?
Yes, and then Haggadah is the same groups as halacha. So if you're in halacha 1, you're gonna be in Haggadah 1. If you're in halacha 2, you're gonna be in Haggadah 2. And then Pesach according to Chassidus is the same as well, like the regular Chassidus classes. Okay, and also have the group pictures, whoever was in it, get a copy.
Anyway, so I was in 770 after school, I think it might have been like 3 or 4 weeks ago, but I was learning my chavrasa and everyone was like, and I heard and I was like, I know this voice, like, I don't know what's happening. And so I was like, give me 1 second, and I look over and you're like leading mincha, and I was like, that's my teacher. And I was like so excited, but I've been meaning to tell you, but I just forgot.
Oh, thank you.
Here, I can do this.
Calendar, then it fell down. and
I
then
always get so excited because like
it's afraid of the calendar.
whenever I'm in 770 with my chavrasa, like there are girls who like grew up here and like went to basic and they know everyone. And so like everyone walks in, they're like, hi, and I just never know anyone because I don't know anyone. And so then when I was like, my teacher's leading mincha, she was like, see, you know someone. So it's funny.
Oh, nice.
But yeah.
Okay, you were able to hear me?
Yeah.
I recognize my voice.
Both.
It's such a scary.
Thank you. Good Shabbos.
Yeah, we're gonna do also individual pictures because there's so many students that we really are part of the school. So, was anybody else here? Were you guys here for us? You weren't here yet, right? Were you here, Sam? Yes. Ah, okay.
So, oh, I think these are
Yeah.
There's
Thanks.
this situation, thing called the Share right? And it's like, it's like the Jewish version of the onion, so like import is your exclusive share.
Thank you.
There's also